Welcome everyone, KD here, and this is the last part 5 of my tutorial about how to create a simple player character. The links for all previous parts are in the description. In part 1 I showed you how you can set up your player character blueprint, how you can tell the game that this is our player character, so he will show up as soon as you load the map. Then in part 2 I showed you how you can create movements like this, like walk around and moving around the camera. That was part 2. In part 3 I showed you how you can switch between different character skins and how to set different materials. In part 4 I showed you animations. You see this guy here has an idle animation, how you can again tell the game which animations he has to use. And in this part I will call this advanced customizations. And here in this part I will show you how you can give your character some more customizations options. I made prepared for this tutorial a top hat we will add to our character, and I will show you how you can do that. Important for that, here you see one of my top hats. I will open it. Very important is, you can ignore that for now, we don't need the morph targets, is that our hat, it has to be a skeleton mesh and it has to be rigged on the skeleton you use for your character. Otherwise this won't work, what I will show you now. It can't be a static mesh or anything like that. It has to be connected to the character's skeleton mesh. If you have a static mesh and you want to work with a static mesh, you have to use a different method, the method with creating sockets. I won't show you how you can create sockets in this tutorial, simple because I like this method better, but that's just my preference. I'm pretty sure there are tutorials about sockets out there if you want to know how this works. I will go to my character blueprint, and the method I use is with master pose components, and I will explain to you in more detail what this means, or I will show you. It's even easier. So we have our headgear here, and right now there's nothing selected there, so when we play the game, of course nothing will show up like a top hat or something like that. So we want to change that, and this is pretty straightforward. First we set our skeleton mesh, and this is same like in part 3. So let's get skeleton mesh. Last time we took skeleton mesh for mesh, now we will take skeleton mesh for headgear. You just can select skeleton mesh and then get the reference later in, but because we want the headgear, we just take it, and we get automatically the reference for the headgear also. Now we could simply put the top hat in here, and when we compile and play, you see the top hat. We have now two problems. The first one is you see it, you don't see it really. It's difficult to see. Now you see it. The character is moving, but the head stays still. I hope you see that. That's one of our problem. We want the top hat to move with the animations we made. The second problem is if I change the character, yeah, the top hat is completely on the wrong place. So let's first add it to the animations. For that, we get, like I said, we work with master pose component. Master pose component. Let's just get it without any reference so I can show you what this does, how to connect it. So, like I said, master pose component, it only works when your customization object, like the top hat, is rigged to the skeleton you used for your character itself. So in this example, test dummy 1 and our top hat for test dummy 1, they need to have the same skeleton so it works. Now, and what we'll do this is everything you set up for your skeleton mesh, for the main skeleton mesh, will also be changed for the headgear. So animations and anything like this will also physics and so on will also all change to the main mesh, and that's what we want with that. So we connect the headgear reference to the target, and the new master bone component is our mesh, and that's all we have to do. I compile this, I play the animation, and you see now, I hope you see it. Let's keep still. The head is already moving with the animation. If we had physics now selected to our main mesh, this would also change with it. Or even morph targets, if we have a morph target with the same name for both for our customization and for our main mesh object, this will also change. As example, if you have a face mask or something like that, and your character opens his mouth, and the mask is flexible and also opens the mouth, so you have to put this morph target only in it once. However, this I maybe jumped a little bit too far away from the topic, because this tutorial is not about morph targets. So now let's go back. Our second problem is it actually worked somewhat. Yeah, you see now it tried to get the top hat onto the second mesh, made some strange deformations. That's interesting. I didn't know he would do that, but it's kind of nice that I showed it right now. So this is of course wrong. Don't want it like that. But it's interesting that he tries to compile even the skeletal mesh with the new target. So, but we want to have its own top hat, and luckily I have prepared a second top hat for our second character, who is connected with the skeleton mesh of our second character, and this. So test dummy 1 character and test dummy 2 character have different skeleton mesh, so I need different top hats that are rigged to the different skeleton meshes. I hope that's You understand that. That's the one disadvantage with master pose components. If you work with sockets, you can use this the same mesh for both characters without problems. However, there are a lot of advantages with master pose components, and that's why I like to use it. But you have to know for yourself. I'm not sure if you will see all the advantages, because advantages are the animations and connecting the physics and everything together. Otherwise, you have to set up physics for all separately for everything. And if you kind of make I'm going back to the face mask. If you just use sockets with a face mask, it will never work with the animations. Then you anyway have to use master pose components. So why not using master pose components for everything anyway? So this will be, the setup will be very similar like I did in part 3 with the skeletal mesh and so on. I will get from new mesh here, I will get a copy and then make an array here. And in an array we can select different objects. So I will, for 0, test dummy top hat 1, and for 1 I will test dummy 2 top hat. And I will connect the get number, of course, again with our character number, because when our character number changes from 0 to 1, we change the mesh that we made in our arrays. Here is the main mesh 1 and 2. If I have 0, we have test dummy 1. If we have 1, we have test dummy 2, and so on. Same with the material, same with the animation blueprint. Please go back to the other tutorials to see how we set this up. And now, if I compile and play, we see our guy with our top hat. Now our second character has the top hat we prepared for our second character, and this time it's correct, it's not kinda changed by the engine. And we can switch between these two guys. And of course we can also set the material here. Let's just do this for repetition a little bit. Set material headgear. We actually didn't have to do that. We don't need to get the reference every time. Just can go here. And again, I can select different materials for our character simply by get a copy. Let's make our array again. I take the black material for first character, blue material for our second character. I connect this with our character number. I compile and I play, and now the hat color changes. So you now see we also have a second material, so I will also show you how you can change that. So we have the customizations really done. I just copied the set material, it's connected to the headgear, and now we have the element index, and maybe I should show you that. Here when you see material slots, we have element 0 and element 1. Element 0 is the black one, and element 1 is the yellow one. That means when we go in here and we see element index 0, this is for our first material. Element index 1 is for our second material. And we can do here the same. I actually could just also copy and paste this one here, but I mean, it's quite fast to make array. And let's keep this yellow for our first character and let's black for our second, so we have a little bit of difference. And of course, again, you can make a separate variable and toggle between these two colors. I won't show you that right now. With a similar function we added here, so you can change the material for the same character and the same customization, the same top hat. You can just toggle between these materials like if you want, but then you have to create a separate variable. Look into part 3 how you can do that. It's exactly the same like setting up the main skeleton mesh. You just have to change the reference to headgear and then it will work. So we'll compile this. And we see our normal guy with our top hat black, yellow, and now we see second character with top hat blue and black. And that's more or less so. With that, you can make as many of these master pose components, as many add as many skeleton meshes as you want to. So you can add gloves, you can add boots, you can add different shirts, you can add different weapons, you can add anything you want and as many things you want. And you can set the different colors and so on and so forth. So with that you can really go all out with customizations as much as you want. And you see, it's not that difficult to do. So with that, I'm finished with my tutorial about setting up a simple player character. I hope you learned something from that. Be aware that this is really just the base for your player character. From here you can build up a lot more. You can build up more movement inputs. You can create more skins. You can create more materials. You can create more animations, so you can add walk animations, jump animations, and anything you want, punch, kick animations, and so on. I showed you how you can add different customizations like a hat, and I told you it's the same for anything else. You can really add as much as you want. Just select the main mesh, add component, add skeletal mesh, and you see you have a second customization option here. I don't know why it's called test dummy top hat, but you can call it as you want. Okay, it's selected immediately, doesn't matter. And here you can add gloves, or you can add boots, or you can add different shirts, or anything like that, anything you want. And that's everything for this tutorial. Thank you for watching. If you have questions for anything I showed you in this tutorial series, please leave a comment so I can help you further if something is unclear. And I really hope you learned something and this tutorial was useful for you. If so, maybe think about to subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this. Thank you for watching.